I was thinking today about limitation and how a lot of the circumstances that I may perceive as standing in my way can actually be super transformative if I'm able to accept, but not only accept, like truly embrace them, and when I do that, the art that comes out, the finished product that I'm able to produce is honestly something other than what I would have been able to produce otherwise. From within those limitations, whatever they may be, I am forced to, or invited, to activate that creativity. And yeah, it just yields results that, like, I don't even know. I don't even know how I did that sometimes. So, just last night I was working on, or the other night I was working on a beat, and I had apologize. I'm a little sick right now, so got the cough going. But I was working on a beat in the middle of the night. Was unable to sleep. First of all, the beat was born out of the frustration of how congested I was and how sick I was at the time. It's just like, okay, that's the energy I put into it first. Second, I wanted to have a vocal on it, but the voice is so scratchy. It's late, and I'm not going to be able to sing loudly and annoy everybody in the house. So I'm like whisper. It's like this whispered tone, got a little hiss to it, recorded on an iPhone. It doesn't even sound like human like that, but it just like it sits in the instrumentation really well. And listening to it the following day, I'm like, well, that's actually really cool. Maybe in the past I would have put a placeholder and said, no, I'll redo this later. But now it's just like, no, I will try it with the resources I have available to me in the moment, and without any preconceptions as to whether it should or shouldn't work. It's like, I'm just going to put something down, and maybe then we'll judge it later, So anyway, yeah, that's one example. But I think about like Motown and how a lot of the sounds that we as listeners after the fact grow to love are sounds that are quite literally born out of limitation. Like, we're in a small room, musicians recording at the same time. You get that really organic bleed between microphones. Who knows if they had access to isolation booths, if it would have been different, but that's the sound that we love. If we're talking about the actual mixing of those records, maybe you might hear the bass louder, you might hear the percussion louder, and it's just like, that's a group of people maybe approaching the mixing process from their unique perspective at the time. And what we hear on record is different than what might have been happening on the other, I don't know, major artist records at the time, or like the sound of the DI guitar, the sound of the bass DI in the room. Like, yeah, limitation. Or I think about hip hop music. If I'm somebody who wants to create music and maybe I don't have access to instrumentation or musicians or big studios or whatever, but I do have access to this record collection that I've been hearing my parents play for my entire life, and maybe I have access to some like DJ equipment, then the birth of hip hop comes out of a circumstance like that in New York. And now we have hip hop. Think of what hip hop is, what hip hop has become, and how powerful it is. There's something on my heart. I'm going to use whatever is available to me at that time, to create that art. And I think like that's a super, super empowering thing. So yeah, I guess for me, knowing all of that, the creation process really becomes one of trying to work in concert with these limitations, like looking at them like they are gifts to me. And maybe if I perceive them as a friend, then I get to try to find out, or I get to learn or discover what it is they're trying to show me as a musician, where it is they're trying to lead me. And yeah, I'm very surprised by the end result always.